Two deafening explosions have just shattered the false sense of security in one of the most heavily guarded neighborhoods on the planet, and the footage emerging is absolutely terrifying. Right now, plumes of thick, black smoke are billowing over the Diplomatic Quarter in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, and the target is the United States Embassy. Axios has officially confirmed the strike, and what we are looking at is a direct, fiery assault on an American diplomatic compound in the heart of the Gulf. Witnesses are reporting earth-shattering blasts followed immediately by absolute chaos and raging fires within the embassy grounds. This is not a drill, and this is not a random, isolated act of terror. This is the brutal, undeniable escalation of a massive regional war that the American public was dragged into entirely against its will. To understand the gravity of the fire burning in Riyadh today, you have to look at the chilling details that are slowly leaking out to the public. The Saudi Ministry of Defense has come forward with an official statement, confirming that the United States Embassy was struck by two Iranian-made Shahed-136 kamikaze drones. If you follow modern warfare, that specific weapon should immediately send a shiver down your spine. These are the exact same low-flying, radar-evading, loitering munitions that have completely redefined asymmetric warfare over the last few years. They are relatively cheap to produce, they carry a devastating explosive payload, and they are incredibly difficult for standard air defense systems to intercept once they lock onto their final coordinates. The fact that two of these drones managed to penetrate Saudi airspace, bypass whatever defense nets were in place, and strike directly at the heart of the American diplomatic presence is a colossal security failure. More importantly, it is a massive geopolitical statement. It tells the world that the traditional deterrents we thought were protecting American assets have completely evaporated. But why is this happening right now? The region has been a volatile powder keg for weeks, and we have seen continuous waves of missile and drone attacks targeting Gulf states. None of this is happening in a vacuum. A resident living near the diplomatic zone told The Guardian that these blasts are directly tied to the ongoing aggressive military campaigns and airstrikes conducted by the United States and Israel. What we are witnessing at the U.S. Embassy is retaliation. This is the exact blowback that independent geopolitical analysts have been desperately warning about for months. And yet, amid all this highly predictable and heavily forecasted escalation, there is a glaring, almost criminal level of negligence on the part of the United States government. If Washington knows that a regional war is escalating out of control, and if they know that recent American and Israeli airstrikes are practically guaranteeing a massive, coordinated response from Iran and its regional allies, why in the world is non-essential diplomatic staff still sitting in the Gulf? Why are American citizens, diplomats, and support staff being left as sitting ducks in embassies that are clearly marked on the map as prime retaliatory targets? It is an astonishing failure of basic duty. Taking the bare minimum precautions to evacuate our people from all embassies across the Middle East should have been step one before any offensive strikes were ever authorized. Instead, they were left right in harm's way, waiting for the inevitable drone strike to rain down from the sky. The contrast in how this broader war is being fought and who is actually being protected is deeply disturbing. Let us take a hard look at the reality of the military infrastructure currently deployed in the Middle East. Israel operates under the highly advanced protection of the Iron Dome, the Arrow system, and David's Sling. Furthermore, a massive portion of the United States naval fleet, our taxpayer-funded defense capabilities, and our most advanced interceptor technology are currently dedicated almost exclusively to acting as an impenetrable shield for Israel. But what about American bases scattered across Iraq and Syria? What about American embassies operating in the Gulf? They are practically left wide open. The American footprint in the Middle East is massive, yet structurally and intentionally vulnerable. By leaving these targets relatively unprotected while heavily fortifying our allies, the United States has inadvertently, or perhaps intentionally, set a trap for itself. Every single time an American base or embassy is hit, it provides the perfect ammunition for those who want to drag the United States deeper into this nightmare. It is incredibly convenient for foreign governments who want America to fight their wars for them. The moment an American facility is struck, the narrative immediately shifts. The national media complex instantly fires up its propaganda machine, blasting the airwaves with calls for severe retaliation. They look right into the camera and tell the public that Iran attacked us unprovoked, completely ignoring the sequence of events. And they demand that the United States military dive deeper and deeper into a war that serves foreign interests, not American ones. It is a manufactured cycle of escalation designed to suck us into a conflict that has no end date and no viable exit strategy. We need to be absolutely unconditionally clear about how we arrived at this disastrous point in history. The United States had no organic need to start this war. There was no vital, existential American interest that required us to engage in this casual, reckless, and totally unnecessary conflict. This is a war of choice, but it is not our choice. It is a war being waged entirely on behalf of a foreign government. Israel has a very clear, established interest in seeing Iran neutered, isolated, and left defenseless. From their strategic, regional standpoint, eliminating Iran's military capabilities makes perfect sense. But from an American standpoint, we have no inherent reason to be locked in a perpetual bloody deathmatch with Iran. Yet here we are, watching our embassies burn and holding our breath to see how many casualties will be reported. Why are we doing this? Because the uncomfortable truth that the mainstream media absolutely refuses to acknowledge is that our political system has been thoroughly compromised. Our politicians do not work for the people who elected them. They work for the entities that fund them. The Israeli lobbying network, combined with massive super PACs, funnels literally billions of dollars into the American political system. They buy influence, they buy votes, and ultimately, they buy American foreign policy. It is a profound insult to our intelligence when the media elite sit on their television panels and try to convince the public that billions of dollars in campaign financing somehow do not affect how politicians vote or act. It is a complete and utter lie. And that money dictates whether we go to war, it dictates whose borders we protect while leaving our own wide open, and it dictates why American soldiers and diplomats are put in the crosshairs of Iranian kamikaze drones. The human cost of this bought and paid for policy is staggering, and it is paid entirely by innocent people. The Americans, who have already lost their lives in this escalating conflict, the military personnel who have been injured in previous base attacks, the countless innocent civilians across the Middle East, including those in Iran who are dying in retaliatory airstrikes, their blood is on the hands of this twisted political alliance. Every single casualty is a direct result of a policy that prioritizes foreign lobbying over domestic safety and global stability. It is crucial, however, to separate the American government from the American people in this tragic equation. The American people did not ask for this. If you look at any reliable polling data, an overwhelming majority, upwards of 75% of the public, wants absolutely nothing to do with this war. We are tired of the endless conflicts. We are tired of the blank checks being written for foreign militaries while our own infrastructure crumbles. We are tired of seeing our flag burning overseas for wars we never voted for. But when 3/4 of a nation explicitly says no to a war, and the government plunges headfirst into it anyway, you are forced to ask yourself a very dark and unsettling question. Do we still live in a functioning democracy? The reality is that we are living under a system where foreign policy is essentially occupied by special interests. We are practically an occupied nation when it comes to how our military is deployed. The politicians making these catastrophic decisions are completely isolated from the consequences of their actions. They do not have to dodge drones in Riyadh. They do not have to worry about the cost of a global energy crisis. They simply collect their campaign checks, repeat the talking points handed to them by lobbyists, and send someone else's children to deal with the explosive fallout. They are quite literally some of the worst, most cynical actors on earth, trading human lives for political donations. Adding another layer of intense complexity to this situation is the ambiguity surrounding other targets in the region. While the Saudi Ministry of Defense was quick to point the finger at Iran for the US embassy attack, citing the specific Shahed drones, they have been noticeably quiet about other massive attacks in the region, specifically regarding their oil fields. There is still a massive question mark hanging over who exactly is targeting the regional oil infrastructure. Iran has openly claimed responsibility for striking American positions across the Gulf, framing it as a natural, unavoidable response to being attacked first. Their logic is the brutal, standard logic of warfare. If you bomb our assets, we will bomb your forward operating bases. It is terrible, but it is exactly how war works. However, the hesitation to officially blame Iran for the oil field attacks suggests a highly calculated multi-dimensional chess game is being played behind the scenes. If the oil fields truly go up in flames, the entire global economy crashes. Energy prices will skyrocket overnight. Global supply chains will shatter. Inflation will spiral completely out of control. And the average citizen, who's already struggling to pay for groceries and rent, will be the one footing the bill for this geopolitical disaster. This is why playing with fire in the Gulf is so incredibly dangerous. It is not just about a building in Riyadh. It is about the stability of the entire global economic system. The fact that we are teetering on the edge of an economic abyss simply because our politicians refuse to step back from a conflict that doesn't benefit America is a testament to how broken the system has become. We are standing on the precipice of something truly catastrophic. The thick smoke rising from the American embassy in Riyadh should be a blaring siren, a final warning for us to change course before we are entirely engulfed in a war that cannot be contained. There was always a diplomatic way to avoid all of this. There were countless opportunities to de-escalate, to engage in real statecraft rather than dropping bombs and hoping for the best. But those opportunities were deliberately ignored by leaders who personally benefit from perpetual conflict. We have to stop accepting the sterile, manufactured narratives handed to us by a compliant corporate media that acts as a mere stenographer for the military-industrial complex. We have to start aggressively asking the hard questions about who actually controls our foreign policy, and why our diplomats and service members are constantly treated as expendable pawns on a chessboard they do not even own. This is the reality of the world we are living in right now. It is messy, it is dangerous, and it requires you to look past the superficial headlines and understand the deep financial and political currents driving these wars. If you appreciate this kind of raw, unfiltered, and strictly fact-based analysis, and if you want to stay completely informed as this massive global story develops, make sure you are subscribed. Every time you hit that bell icon down below, an angel gets its wings. Okay, that is obviously a joke, but it absolutely does ensure that you get notified the second we go live with critical updates. The mainstream media is not going to give you the full picture, so we have to rely on each other to uncover the truth. Stay safe, stay aware, and we will keep tracking this explosive situation as it unfolds.